Okay. Okay. We want to welcome you here tonight to the class. My name is Randall Pixton, and we're going to be teaching Ron and Candy and Travis and whoever else is listening. We're going to be teaching the basics of FamilySearch, the tree, and everything that goes with it. I think probably the most important thing to me is I believe in teaching the basics. There's a lot of different sources out there, but I think until you know the basics, there's no reason to go down off another trail. Okay. I've been involved in doing this for 30, 40 years. And as a consultant for that long, and then as a full-time missionary, and then as church service missionary, we train missionaries in Salt Lake. But tonight, we're going to start out with the very basics. And if you're new to FamilySearch, it's going to make a lot of sense. So feel free, Candy, especially you and Ron, and whoever else that maybe in the audience has a question, to ask questions. We'll stop, we'll review it. There's no rush here to get through this. When you log on to FamilySearch, if you have set up an account, first of all, the password that you have is now carte blanche on all websites for the church. There's no, as of 2021, they changed it to one common password and logon name here. So we're starting here in FamilySearch, and I'm going to go back, and if you look up here and you see FamilySearch, this is the default page of this. So if you were to log on, as I have already, this default page is going to come up here. If you ever get lost, you would come right here, click on FamilySearch, and it's going to bring you back to your home page. This is the home page. Okay. And we're going to go through and talk about these basics. But first, we're going to start here, as it's pointed out in the handout that I gave you. We're going to go through every one of these, but we're going to start, first of all, in the tree. Okay. You're here to basically learn simple things. So without a doubt, you should be able to come here and help identify some names and say, hey, I want to be able to prepare these names to take to the temple. Okay. So before you leave tonight, 1 hour, if that's not done, I'll stay with you afterwards and we'll do it. Okay. We'll sit on your tree and help you. This is my tree. This is called the landscape tree. So if you look over here on this side where I have the deal, the mouse, you'll notice this, where the landscape. So it's laid out landscape. You'll notice where my mouse is. Any place where there's not something like the names, I can click and I can move this around. Okay. Let's say I move it down here, but I want it to come back center. So I'm going to come back here to the target, click on that button. It brings it right back to center. Or I can drag it back just by clicking on the mouse, holding it and moving it around. Okay. This key right here is going to open up other images of your family tree. First of all, we're going to go, the next we're going to go to is the fan chart. Well, let me go to portrait, and it shows a different image of how it looks. That's all. Change it from that image to that. Okay. Now that may be advantage to you as you're looking at it. Depends how you want to look, left to right or up or down. Then the fan chart. If I were to say, where is the workbench of doing family history? It would be in this area. You go, my gosh, your tree is pretty full. And it is. We've only been working on it since the existence of the church. So I can't see it all. So I'm going to come up here into this right-hand corner. You can see my mouse. I'm going to click on that minus. I'm going to bring it down to size so it fits on the screen better. Okay. So if I want to enlarge it, I'm going to hit that key. Okay. And so I'm going to bring it back down just a little bit so you can see what I'm looking at here. The family tree is not just your tree, it's the world's tree. So FamilySearch is open to anybody. I mean, I've helped far more non-members on FamilySearch than I've ever helped members, to give you an idea. I've helped them set up their tree all over the country so that they could take and put it together and look at it. Everybody contributes. And sometimes you'll look at it and you'll say, oh my gosh, somebody's made a change in here. Okay. I'm going to show you tonight how to identify, where you'll get an email at the end of every week, somebody added or made a change to the tree, the world tree. Okay. And this is just not my tree. This is everybody that's participating in it. Okay. Let's see. Over here to the right of the fan chart, you'll see this little menu key here. If you click on that, it opens it up, and it's sitting, this screen right here is identifying where all these people are from. So if you look right here at my Edwin Ward Smount, my great-great-grandfather, he was born in England. Okay, matches up. Your tree will do the same thing as long as that area is in. Or a common relative I have was some Bairds that live here in this area. The Bairds here were born in, this Baird was born here in the United States, but his father, Alexander Baird, was born in the UK. Okay, and you can follow it back here to other Bairds that were born in Scotland. Okay, you can also come here and click on family lines. This is going to break this down. If you'll notice here on this tree right here, and this is the Pixton tree, it goes back all blues. These are all these people here are all coming through this common line right here. Okay, which comes down to my father and to myself and to my children and my grandchildren. It's in blue. The next one is my grandmother in green, my maternal grandfather in red, and my maternal grandmother in yellow. Okay, sources is going to identify on here how many sources, and that would be birth certificates, census records, death records, any addition that's made to that tree. For example, Charles Mormon Noakes, you'll notice is in that yellow, has 10 plus records or sources attached to that. Okay, a lot. But if we come out here to Susanna Cephison, she's got a like 10 of only 1 to 4. White indicates none. Okay, and I only want to see is this Delcy out here that has no records attached. The best situation, not in concrete, the best situation is have 2 to 3 sources before you would take somebody to the temple. Could you do it with 1? Yes. But you need to have good solid proof. It would be like somebody getting on TV and saying, hey, I heard this. Well, who are your sources? Well, I don't have any sources. Well, then it's not true.
Now, the names the temple give to you, would they have that included, right?
Correct. Those will have sources. In most cases, will have sources attached. So you
back only 7 generations.
I beg your pardon?
7 generations.
Here it's going back 7 generations here in that. Can I go back, Father? Yes. Okay. And I'll show you how to do that. In fact, that's a good question, Ron. Let's come here to Joshua Brigham Morgan. So if you look here on his name, you look right there. See that turn colors? If I click on that, that's going to move him to the focus point. I'm the focal point here. In fact, I'm going to go here to John, his father. I'm going to click on that and watch what happens. John now is here. Okay. And it goes back then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more generations from him. And you go, okay, well, what about John Hamilton? Okay, let's click on John Hamilton. John Hardman, John Hardman, it's going back. You can see it decreases. We're going down here. We're in the 1500s, 1496s, and early 1400s. We have some of ours that go back before the time of Christ, but this particular line doesn't. Okay, so and they go, okay, I did that, and how do I get back to where I was at? I go back there and see where that home is. Who's the home person? Me. So it's going to take you right back to the home person. So you understand how I did that? you're going to come here to where that little fan chart is, click on it, and it moves them into the focus person. Okay. Now I'm going to show you some things at the end here. Remind me of how to find descendants of Agnes Bell that need their temple work done. Okay. Real easy. I mean, simple, almost as simple as what Ron was talking to you about earlier. Okay. Okay. So we're going to go back to the focus person, which is me. And we've gone through and we've looked at the fan chart and we've looked at photos. Here's it. This indicates how many photos are attached. Okay. Same thing on research helps. And then you go right here to, oh, look at this. There's a hint on the on this whole tree right there. There's one hint because it's worked heavy. So that indicates that FamilySearch in cooperation with other sources have identified a record on him. If you look at that right there, and I'm going to do this one real quick. We're going to come back to it on John Hallett, and you'll look, they found a record of the wills and probate of him, of John Hallett. And all I would do is click on that screen, and then I'd go to review it. We're going to come back to that, but I just want you to see how I got that. You see that, Candy, how that works? Yeah. Okay. So if I'm researching, I'm looking for hints. Okay. If I want to find people to help, your focus has to be lasered on those record hints. You first are going to start by building your tree, and I don't know where you're at in that, but we'll help you on that tonight too, is to start putting these basics in. If I have a 90% surety, if we sit down, or you have already your parents, your grandparents in there, and maybe some of your great grandparents, all of this, or a great portion of it, is going to automatically, the computer's going to fill it in. Okay. Because it's going to tie in with other trees that are the same as yours. Okay. Is that right? Okay. I always want to get my source back in the back there.
Not other trees, because it's one tree, but other families.
Other families tree. That's correct. Yeah, that have loaded the information in, that tied in. So that's giving you an idea. We're going to change this now to descendancy report, and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to change here, and I'm going to go to, and I'll show you how descendancy report. But if you want to find a name to go to the temple with, I'm going to start with a male. Why would I choose a male over a female, Travis, on doing a descendancy report?
Because you get both of them.
I'm going to get both of them. Very good. So I'm going to go here to James Lang Hamilton, and I move him into the #1 position. See that? He's now in the #1 position. Now watch what I do. I'm going to come up here and click on descendancy. And I'm going to tell the computer to give me a descendancy report on that. Let's see. There we go. Okay. This is a descendants report coming forward in history of him. Okay. So here we are, him, his wife, Marianne Campbell, and their children. And every one of those arrows indicate they have children. Okay. If you see an arrow like that one that doesn't have children, okay, Candy, especially you would have to ask one of two things. When did they die? In this situation, 4 years old. So there's no reason to do any research, is there? Okay. There's no family, there's no spouse. Okay. But let's say that person lived to 40, 50 years old. More than likely, they were married. More than likely, they have children. So that person would be the person that I would want to go start with. Now, the other thing I'm going to do, okay, is I'm going to come over here to this report and see that again, that little arrow. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to turn off portraits and watch what happens. It allows me to look at more raw data. Okay. I love to see their pictures, but I want to see the data. And then I can come here and I can say, I can come up here and I can expand back farther from James Hamilton. So here's, you see how I did that? I can expand and I can go to his father, or I can go through Sarah Lang back to her father. Okay. And I can select that line. I'm going to select John Hamilton and go back one more generation. And I shut off the pictures and look what I found here. John Hamilton, born 1820, died in 1847. He was 27 years old, probably married. Joseph Hamilton, born in 25, died in 32, 7 years old. Mary and Hannah, they don't have spouses. Here's Mary Ann. So that one, John Hamilton, Mary Ann, and Hannah, I would want to research. But first, so you can see what I'm talking about, I'm going to click on Jane Hamilton, that arrow. That's going to open up her spouse and children. People go, how do you know they don't have a spouse or children? Because I understand what the screen's telling me. It just says it doesn't. I mean, so I open it up. Jane's husband is George Cox Jr. Oh my gosh, I got a Cox slipped in there. Okay, my wife was a Cox side. So here is George and their children, John, Mary, George, Sarah, and Francis. And they're John's children and Mary's children. I click on that and look at more children pop up. And you go, okay, what do I want to do if I want to close it? Just click on that arrow again. Open it up, close it. Okay. You with me, Candy? Yes. I'm focusing on you. Yes. Okay. I hope that doesn't offend you. Okay.
So just another clue, the purple boxes on the right side.
Yeah.
That just tells you there may be something here to research, because it realizes they don't have
enough data in there
or data. And so if you click on one of those boxes, it may say, hey, there could be children.
Look at that. May have children.
May have children.
Yeah.
And so that's a trigger for you to say, okay, that may be what I want to research.
Yeah. And that's my point, is I'm looking at those and I'm looking at those. I'm going, hey, those have children. And Travis is right. So there's two clues that indicate there's a spouse or children involved. And the whole role here today is putting families together. Okay. Okay. Now look what else showed up on William Cox. He appears in the Canada Census records. I'm going off here a little bit, but that's okay. I'm going to go out here. I want to look at, and you look at that and you say, oh my heck, there is John Cox. He's in the Canada Census records, and it allows me to go ahead and review that record. And I'm going to open up. We're not going to go into detail on this because I don't want to. I want to stay with some real basic stuff. We're going to cover this in the next couple of weeks. Okay, this is why you want to be here every week. So John Cox, it shows in the record. Here's the image, or the image of the original document of 1881 showing him on the record. So I can come up here, and here's a little trick. This is the index record down here. Okay. I can click on that arrow, enlarge, and I can come up here and enlarge the screen and then zoom in and find him. And I'm looking for Cox, wasn't it?
Yeah. John Cox.
John Cox. There he is right there. Let's make that a little larger so everybody can see it. Here's John Cox on the census record. And look right up here. The Canada Census record, 1881, wife Mary, George, William, and Adeline, or something like that. So I've got male, female, male, male, female, 30, 27, 6, 3, and 1. And it comes over here and it says they were all members of the Church of England. Okay. I learned today that the King of England is also the head of the Church of England. I didn't know that. When you become king or queen, you become the head of the church. Okay. So it shows over here what his occupation was. It looks like he was a farmer. Okay. So a lot of great information on there. So back in the source linker, I would take that information and add it to his record. That would give me evidence Go ahead.
Scroll down.
You bet.
Because the birth dates are off on this record. I just want
Are we looking down here, Travis? Where are you looking?
to, maybe it's my bad eyes. So scroll up,
Scroll up
because you have 1843
to 26.
and the birth.
It's showing 1851. Right. Okay. So good point. So can there be conflicting information? Yes. Okay. And I always tell the story of the census taker came around that day and mom and dad were out working in the fields. They said, well, who's the oldest member of your family? Well, it's Jimmy. How old's Jimmy? 7. Okay. I can't talk to him. I'll come back. They come back again. They're still not there. Who's the oldest? Jimmy. 7. So, well, Jimmy, how old do you think your dad is? Unfortunately, a census record can be off. Okay. Now I would want to prove it because John Cox, this is a John Cox and John William Cox. So let's look and see if there's other evidence that it's the same wife. Okay. This is Mary Cox. There's over here is Mary Boyle, or a maiden name. And she was born 1854. And look, matches 1854. Okay. So we have one pro, one con there. But what else do we have? We have 3 children that are from that relationship. So you would have to take in, and Travis's point is well taken. I would have to go back to his record, and let's go back there. And I would go back to John Cox's record, and I see George, William, and Adeline. And over here, I see George, William, and Adeline. What does that mean? It's a match, right? Even though the birthdays were off. I sit with people and they'll say, oh my gosh, that's not the same person. The birth date's off. Okay, well, let's look at the evidence. Is there enough evidence in court? If you were an attorney and you were sitting in front of a judge, is there enough evidence here that John, Mary, George, William, and Adeline is the same family? Yeah, it looks like it to me. Okay, so I would attach them. Okay, so a lot of information here. And if you look at this record, and I apologize here, I'm going to get back on topic here. But if you look at that record, there says here similar records sitting over here. 1911, marriage record, birth records, baptismal records. So you'd want to look at them. You always want to look at the original document though. Okay. Because when this is indexed, when that was indexed, the indexer looked at this record. They typed this information in, okay? And maybe you know George, and you know that Adeline was spelled different, okay? You can now make corrections. You can't correct this document, but you can make corrections in your records, okay? Okay, so let's come back here to, let me make sure I'm staying on topic. Okay, so if we come back to family tree, I'm gonna default here for you, Candy. And again, I'm gonna click on family search, brings me back to my original spot. And then I was gonna do this anyways earlier. Travis pointed it out to me. Right up here on the right-hand side is try the new home page feature. It was on it. This is the old format that you're looking at. So when you look at that, I'm going to click that on just a second. When you look at it, this is documentation on my family that somebody has entered in here. Okay. And on Reuben Glenn Miller, I can check and say, what's my relationship to Reuben Glenn Miller? Here's me. And I can go and click and go up to the Hughes family side, and Reuben married Jane Hughes. Okay. Lucy and Jane are siblings, and Jane married Reuben. You with me on that? Okay. So there's the connection. Okay. Okay. So here is people that I right over here that I've recently looked at. I looked at John Hamilton, myself, Hallett, and Agnes Bell. I can also click on see more and go back and look at people that I've worked on or been looking at. Okay. So when you leave, it used to the old days, when you left the computer, you had to write down they used to call them the PID number. It was the PIN identification number on that person. And that number is still here. Oops, right here. It's KW64-WW2. I would have to write that down. The computer now stores it over here that I looked at, whatever I looked at on, on recent people. Okay. Have any questions? A lot of information. Okay. Okay, staying with the basics. On this home screen, okay, here it says there's an obituary of an ancestor of mine, which is indicated right here. And over here is recommended tasks. And if you look at this screen right here, if I click on that screen right there, I can go on here and say, hey, I'm looking to do some work and do baptism confirmations. Find me a name. Now, Ron talked about another software program that does searches. And guess what? The church cooperated with that company to come up with the same idea. Okay. And so it goes out, the computer goes out, finds me 4 names right now that I can go take to the temple. Okay. And I can, do you have children?
No.
Okay. So if you have nieces, you have somebody in your ward, you can say, oh, hey, I need some help doing this work. You could go and pull those up. Now this indicates this one's from the temple. That's interesting because mine is pretty well hammered. And then it says learn about Frank. So in your tree, it might be there. It's going to have our time on mine, but on yours might be a little different. So here's Frank. View my relationship. I do have a relationship with him. Look at that. Okay, interesting. So it goes in there on Frank's self and it says Frank right there needs all this temple work done. Okay. Okay. So back to family tree. We looked at the different trees over here. We went through descendancy, and this new one is first ancestor. Are you familiar with that, Travis? That's a new one that just showed up. I have not seen that one before.
No,
It's a new one that I right now I can't teach anything because I don't know. But
that descendancy deal, you can go back 4 generations too.
correct. Yep. Yep. So if we went through landscaping, this screen, and we talked about enlarging it over here. And that's it, Frank self. I'm going to go to the home person. I'm going to leave that person, which is me. And again, all these arrows allow you to go and follow out a next generation. In fact, it goes out 2 more generations. And then these arrows all show children. So in that screen, okay, open it up, close it up. And I'm just kind of doing a quick review. Portrait screen. If I'm in here working my family tree, I want that off. On portrait and landscape, it doesn't matter. It doesn't show up on the fan chart though. Okay. So it was off, but it automatically comes up on portrait. Also, there's a screen here called inverted screen, allows you to invert it and change it to that imagery, whichever is best for your eyes. Okay. And let's see. Okay. Let's go here to person. Okay. this is my person page. And there's no reason to be on me because there's no information there that's going to help us in this setting. So I'm going to come over here and go to, if you notice here, not available. Okay. It's not available because I'm a living person. Can I put living people in there? Yes. And you should. Used to be they'd say not to do it. Now you should. So you should be putting, if you have children, grandchildren, etc., or nieces and nephews, you want to go ahead and fill that information in. Okay. Let me go over here to view my tree.
But when you do that, only you have,
And only you can see it.
only you can see the living people that you put in. Nobody
Correct.
else can see them
Yep.
for the privacy standpoint.
Yeah, that is correct. We're going to go here to my grandfather and we're going to put him. Now you can click on his name or person, and this is the workbench for doing family search. Okay. And you're going to be in details. So let's go through and we're going to look at these bars here. We're going to first start with details. Okay. In this screen right here, the bars over here in the screen right here, I would encourage you. I put this in here. Anybody could have put this information in here. Something about a life sketch about him. I just said gentle giant among men, kindest man I ever knew, and it said a brief biography. Okay, this shows his vitals, his name, his gender. Okay. It shows anybody that's made a change in this record. So Laura Radley made a change May 6th on that. By clicking on edit, okay, I can come over here and I go, well, they left his middle name out, okay? And here's all the sources attached. Anything you do in here leaves a footprint, okay? It says who did it. This person is unknown, but they are identified by a code here. So I can contact them by clicking on their name and then clicking message. And I can say, I can write to this person. I'd say about my grandfather. I could say, what is your relationship with Orion Smout? Okay. Question mark. And I don't know who it is. So I'm going to put a question mark on there and I'm going to send it to him. Okay. I'm going to do that. Oops, back. SMOUT. Okay. And I'm going to send that to him and let him respond. Okay. Okay. So real easy. I can edit from this page. And we're going to cover more of this in ongoing. I'm just kind of hitting some highlights, given the birth date, if there was a christening, their death date, where they're buried, and who each person, you can see I've made some notations here in different spots. But other people, I don't know who these people, I don't know who that is. I do too. I know who she is. Is a cousin. Didn't recognize her married name. Okay, all good information on it. And then as I come down here, it's going to show my grandfather and his wife and their children. And here's my mother. And then over here, it's going to be Orion Smout's father, mother, and his siblings. Okay. And I can add children. You go, what if they have two spouses? I can add another spouse. I can come down here and or add an unknown mother. How's that? Wow. Okay. Okay. We're gonna. How do I get rid of that screen? Okay. So you go, what if you want to follow that person to make sure anyone makes any changes? So right here under following, I can click on that screen and it's going that now it's turned dark. It indicates then it's going to notify me by email every week of any changes made on any grandparent. Now, who would you want to do that? I'd want to do it on siblings, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, okay? Or a special aunt or uncle. I want to know, okay? And if you see right here, it says go to person page, and that just takes me back to his person page. Should be, hopefully it is, yeah. And this is the new screen, so we're going to work off of it. His person page. This indicates what temple work's been done, okay? And where it was done, when it was done. And here's memories, and that memory screen. And that memory screen, it's going to bring up pictures, written articles, recorded documents on a tape. And to show you, I'm going to jump right over here to this one because I want you to hear this. I recorded this on a granddaughter that I adopted 28 years ago. And she was putting a recording on the phone. I thought, God, that was so cute. And I thought, why don't I get that? So what we're going to do is I'm going to pull that up on my screen. Let's make sure I can get to that. Yeah. Should bring me up. Very good. Okay, memories. Here's I'm on the memories. And if you look here, and you see right here, this indicates I recorded information on there. I can click on it and listen to it. And these are some special moments. This is a story. I was in the mountains and I wanted to convey some things to my kids. But this one is the special one. Let's see if we can play it.
Is that a special app or is this built in?
Guess what? This doesn't have any sound with it. Okay. So what it's doing is playing her voice saying, hello, this is the Pixtons. And she's 3 years old and recording it. So I've saved it for her in perpetuity. So you can put voice recordings. You could sit with a parent or a grandparent and record their voice and or whatever. Saying goes that every time a senior citizen dies, a library burns down because everything that was in their head goes with them. So it's important. What was your question, Ron?
Well, how do you get into this?
How do I get into it? Okay, I was at memories. Okay.
Memories?
Yeah. So let's go to memories. Okay. And in memories, I'm at, there's the overview. I'm going to go here to the gallery. Okay. And in the gallery, here is, if you look right here, that's all. There's photographs. Here is stories. Here is documents. And here is audio.
Okay, so just click on that and go to any.
Yeah, it goes in him. Okay, let's say though, let's say I want to, and again, we're going to cover this in future, but I'm going to hit it. I'm going to hit it real quick. If I'm adding a memory, all I do is click on that button. And if it's something that's been saved on my on my computer, I can add it right from there. Okay. I mean, it's just as easy as can be. Okay. So this is all pictures of those people. People pictures or documentations is everybody that's in my family tree, that's sharing that tree, okay? Ancestors on both sides. And so in that, all their pictures are appearing on here. And let me give you an idea.
Oh. Wow.
I mean, it keeps going. So, and if you look here in any one of these pictures, for example, let's go to right here, Leah Oakley. Here is a background. Oh, I took that picture of their home. and down in just out of Ogden, sitting on a golf course. The golf course wanted to remove it. It became a historical record building, so they wouldn't allow them to do it. But there's a picture of that building. There's a family picture, and there's a picture of her. So you look at that, and any one of these pictures you see in the background, multiple pictures or documents. Okay, here is of my grandmother, for example. And so it's showing on her, it's showing all the documents. Oh, look, there's numerous ones in there. Their car out in front of this little house in the Hayes Project, just out of Blackfoot, Idaho, during when you and I Sugar had set the project out there and they started farming. But all of those things are in there. Okay. Okay, let me get back here on task. Okay, back to details. Okay. This is the person page. And this person page is where most of the information you're going to work from is going to be, or you're going to add. Okay. Or you're going to make corrections to. Okay. So if I came in here and I said, okay, on, come on, there we go. If I come in here, I go, gosh, this is a grandchild that made that. If I wanted to make a correction, okay, I would come in there and for alternate names. She was known, her real name was Matilda, but she was known as Tilly. And my grandfather's name was Will and Tilly. His real name was William. Her real name was Matilda, but okay. But you want to add those alternate names in there, okay? So when you go home tonight, start and just go across there. Don't be afraid to click on these screens, okay? Again, there's all these sources. There's 66 sources on this grandmother of mine right here, from birth records, death records, census records, and the most recent one would be the 1950 census record. I'm seeing if it's in here, and I don't see it. That's good. I'll go look for it. Okay. And then memories is going to be pictures, recordings, documents. What else? Yeah. Okay. And then ordinances. Here it shows all the ordinances that are done on her. And at any time when you're in any of these places, you can come over here and click on their parents. And that's a hot link that takes you right to their page. Okay. Pretty neat, isn't it? Pretty dang neat. Okay. I'm going to go back to FamilySearch. We have a few minutes left here. And let me see. We've gone through navigate. We've talked about viewing a relationship. We're going to use on here the find. Okay. And let me go here. Okay, search. Oh, and I encourage you to go through all these. These are activities about your surnames, about me, how you can record your own story and put in there. Okay. And let's get over to search. So if I was going to go do some searching for records, I would come here. Okay. And I would click on that. And I would come there and I'd click in a name. So let's go in and put in my father's name. Okay. And I'm gonna put in what I know. I don't guess, I just do my best. And I don't have any more information than that, let's say. Okay. It's going to go out there and search all through all the records. Okay. And it's going to find information on him. And so here it found all this information on here. on him, and then allows me to come in and say, oh, I remember his birth record, or I remember where he lived, or I remember where he died, and I can put that additional information. I go, no, I can't remember any of that stuff, but I do know who his father is. So I click on there and I would put in his father's name. Okay. And I don't know any more information that and it's that little blue screen right there, and it's going to go out and search, and it found him, and look what it did. It connected his father and his mother on that information I pulled up. Okay. Oh, good. So there's a lot of information there that a person can use to find people on. And they use an example here of Nicholas Page. I want you to go home and use this and do some of your own. But before you leave tonight, if you have time, we'll do some search on yours. Okay. Let's go back here to Family Search on the home page. And again, keep in mind, recent people is, so if I worked on this tonight and I came back a week from now, this is the screen that would appear. It says, well, the last person you were on was John Hamilton. And I could go to right John Hamilton and pick up right where I left off. Okay. Really important to know that. So that's on recent people that I've looked at. And here is stuff that we talked about ordinance ready. Okay. I'm trying to think here if there's any of the basic things I'm missing here. Are you think of anything, Travis?
No, without getting much deeper.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying not to do that. It's real easy for me to go deeper. I won't do that though. So tonight, the basic thing is, let's deal with you, Candy. Have you set up your own Family Search account then? You have it? And you vote, you got a tree?
I've got a tree.
Okay.
And I think, I was in here with Christy Child, and I think she helped link, like she got me onto Ancestry, which I had an old tree on Ancestry. So I think I'm maybe getting some, do they automatically talk to each other? Will it bring stuff in from Ancestry?
No, it corroborates with it, but it won't automatically bring it over.
Okay.
No, I mean, you can move stuff over. And you know what? Where is that at, Travis? Do you see that on there? Those other pages?
If you go to a detail of a person.
Okay, let's do that. Let's go to tree, and let's go to we'll go to that person. And again, you can click on their name or person. I want to go to their person page. Come on, here we go. Okay, so over here on the right-hand side, Candy, you'll see search, okay, Family Search, Ancestry, Find My Past. So if, as a member of the church, you get to access their information without charge. Up to a limit, I understand. So I can go over here and they have, I was looking at some records today. They have probably 4 or 5 times more raw data because it's a privately owned company. Okay. So, but here they've got Find a Grave, you know, and I can go here and click on Find a Grave. And interesting thing on Find a Grave is there is my grandmother's grave right there with a picture. And then over here on the right, here's all the detailed information on her. And all of these are hyperlinks. So anytime you see a blue, that's a hyperlink. So I can click on Lucy Jane Taylor. It's going to take me right to her page in Find a Grave through Ancestry. Okay. I wasn't supposed to go there, but, but, and these are suggested records here. We're going to go into that screen without going deeper. Okay,
So just one other point, for those that aren't members of the church, they can have access to all those partner sites.
Yes.
Here at the Family History Center.
yes, yeah. So you could come into this facility or any facility that the church has around the world, and they could come here into the library. Most important, to come in the library and spend time with a specialist helping you put this stuff together, because they can work through with the basics. And the library is open here on the schedule almost every day. Okay, but here it's showing all these other records that they have found on her, in addition to Find a Grave. Okay. And another day and another time, we could show you how to transfer them over. Okay. But that pretty well completes the basics and the overview of FamilySearch. And it doesn't even scratch every one of these areas that we could have gone into, but it does give you a basic idea on it. So
One other question, I'm still, when we go back and like my parents, I can do brothers and sisters with their approval of their family. Okay,
closest living relative, yeah.
yeah, okay, now, anything else? They don't suggest doing unless, no, you want to keep on that one line. You don't want to get.
You always want to do their spouse.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And not their.
Not their spouse's parents, but their
Right.
spouse.
Yeah, and not the children.
No, you can do the children.
You can do the children.
You can do the children and the spouse, children and the spouse, but you can't go. So I couldn't go and do my brother-in-law's parents.
Yeah, right.
Okay. But I could do the rest of them.
It still follows bloodline. as
Yeah.
long as-
Okay.
Yeah. And for example, I don't need to ask permission to do any work on any of my siblings, even if they're married. Okay. So I noted this before, when my sister died a year ago, last May or June, I went to my brother-in-law, got his permission, went to my niece, got her permission. I called Salt Lake. They said, you don't need anybody permission because you're a brother.
Oh, that's right.
You don't need permission from anyone, but at that scenario. So, but most important is if we can learn to do the basics here, then before you jump over here and try to work all these different other research programs, learn the basics, learn them well, and it'll make it easier using this. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Turn it over to Travis.
Let's turn the recording off.
Stop.
Pause or stop recording.
Okay. Yes.